Hey Star Wars fans, it's time to talk about the Inquisitors. After getting our first look at them in live action, it's time to dive into who each one of these characters are and why they are going to be so important and crucial to the Obi-Wan Kenobi story. So back in 2012, when Disney first purchased Lucasfilm, one of the first titles that they ended up making was Star Wars Rebels. Now I'm a huge Star Wars Rebels fan, but from the very get-go it introduced a new concept to the Star Wars canon. This concept was the Inquisitors. From the very first scene of the show, we see the Grand Inquisitor being tasked by Darth Vader to hunt down Force-sensitive children that could one day rise up to face a potential threat against the Empire. Now, of course, the Inquisitor's main task during the time of the Sith was to hunt down and kill the surviving Jedi of Order 66. In fact, many of the Inquisitors of the Inquisitorius program were once Jedi themselves. In the years leading up to the Galactic Civil War, the Inquisitors came into conflict with several Jedi and groups affiliated with surviving or former Jedi as part of the Purge. One of these groups was a Spectre, a rebel cell that included the Jedi Purge survivor Kanan Jarrus and his now Padawan Ezra Bridger. Throughout the entire first season of Rebels, we see time and time as the two try to evade the Grand Inquisitor, who was the leader of the Inquisitorius program. Of course, really, Darth Vader was the true leader behind the Inquisitorius program, but the Grand Inquisitor held the highest rank among them. In the early days of the Clone Wars, knowing some Jedi could potentially survive his grand scheme of Order 66 one day, Darth Sidious began to sow the seeds of a potential program of dark side users that would help take out any survivors. During the Clone Wars, Sidious hired bounty hunter Cad Bane to kidnap several Force-sensitive children who would one day become Jedi younglings in the near future. At a private facility Sidious had on Mustafar, he had the children taken, where he would foresee an army of Force-sensitive spies in his service. Nevertheless, this operation was then prevented by Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker and his Padawan Ahsoka Tano, who then ruined the facility and rescued the children Palpatine was planning to use. Despite this setback, Sidious made more facilities and altered more nanny droids, ensuing the continuation of his plan to use Mustafar as a base to turn infants to his side. As the Clone War carried on, Sidious kept an eye on Jedi who had grievances with the Jedi High Council, or the role of the Jedi Order was playing in the conflict. He secretly offered these select few a chance at surviving Order 66 so long as they joined him in the dark side of the Force. When the war ended, Supreme Chancellor Sheev Palpatine, who was secretly Darth Sidious, formed the Galactic Empire and declared the Jedi its enemy. Using Jedi Master Mace Windu's attempt to arrest him for justification of these claims, he then executed Order 66. Nevertheless, as Sidious had predicted, some Jedi had survived the mass killing, so he planned for the Inquisitors to hunt down and kill those who had survived, until the light of the Jedi was extinguished once and for all. While the Inquisitors are not actual Sith as Darth Vader is, they are kind of like dark side assassins like Asajj Ventress was during the Clone Wars, or even General Grievous and characters like Ochi of Bestoon in the sequels. I'd also say Savage Opress and maybe even Darth Maul were more like assassins, although Darth Maul at one point was a Sith. Many of the Inquisitors that were former Jedi joined the dark side due to torture or corruption. Upon joining the ranks of the Inquisitors, the Force-sensitive effectively lost their identities. They were given numeral designations to resent their entry into the organizations, such as the Second Sister or the Ninth Brother, and so on. This new organization they would become a part of, the Inquisitor program, would prevent everything that the Jedi had stood for. Of course, the Puan Jedi Temple Guard, who became the Grand Inquisitor, joined Sidious when the Sith Lord promised him access to the Jedi archives. The Ninth Sister was the former Jedi Masana Tide. The Tenth Brother was a former Jedi Master, Proset Dibs. He joined Sidious at the end of the Clone Wars. The Second Sister was the former Jedi Trilla Sunduri that we see in the Jedi Fallen Order game. Trilla was captured shortly after Order 66 and tortured into joining the dark side. Darth Vader soon discovered the program and was put in charge of him by his Sith Master. Vader trained the Inquisitors in the way of the dark side of the Force. As part of their training, he would often sever a number of the Inquisitors' limbs, similar to how his limbs were severed as well. He did this in the hopes that it would make them stronger in the dark side and have their hate grow stronger towards him and even towards the Jedi Order. Vader also claimed that he was intending to have the Inquisitors abandon their tendency to fight defensively as former Jedi and adopt to more offensive moves, as the Jedi more often had defensive techniques than offensive. So we'll dive in on each one of these characters a little bit more here, starting with the Grand Inquisitor. Following the formation of the Empire, the Grand Inquisitor worked with Darth Vader on locating the Jedi Order's chief librarian, Jocasta Nu. As he searched through the Jedi archives, the Grand Inquisitor, who held a personal dislike of Nu after she had denied him the chance of learning from the Jedi archive secrets, was then confronted by her as he openly insulted the knowledge of what he was reading. At first, the Grand Inquisitor was planning to kill Nu, but when he defeated her in combat, he was prevented of doing such by Lord Vader. As Vader and the Grand Inquisitor argued over what to do with her, Nu was able to make her escape. However, Vader was able to pursue her and then killed Nu himself without the help of the Grand Inquisitor. Not too long after, the Ninth Sister accompanied Vader to investigate reports of a possible Jedi in a cantina on Cabaria. The reports turned out to be false, and Vader was attacked by 3 bounty hunters. The Ninth Sister refused to help Vader, and when he overpowered the bounty hunters, they retreated and stole the Ninth Sister's speeder at gunpoint. Vader chased and captured them, questioning them of who they were hired by. Vader found out that the culprit had come from the Imperial ranks, and the Ninth Sister flew him back to Coruscant. However, when he arrived at Coruscant, their communications were deliberately jammed, stopping the Ninth Sister from sending the clearance codes. This caused the Coruscant defenses to attack them, and Vader pushed the Ninth Sister off the pilot chair to take control of the ship. They subsequently had crashed onto Coruscant, and Vader left the Ninth Sister with the ship. Throughout the Imperial era, the Inquisitors brought terror into the Jedi who survived Order 66 and helped cement Imperial rule. The mission to Mon Cala. About a year after the rise of the Empire, Palpatine suspected a Jedi was potentially influencing negotiations on Mon Cala. He sent Lord Vader and 3 Inquisitors to investigate this, accompanied by a squad of elite clone purge troopers. Upon their arrival, the Imperial ambassador Telvar was assassinated, and his superior Moff Tarkin sent down his forces to invade Mon Cala. The Purge Troopers are seen in the Jedi Fallen Order game. They were known to be some of the best clones in the Imperial ranks that ended up becoming Purge Troopers to kill the Jedi later on still. Vader and the Inquisitor's 6th brother, 9th sister, and 10th brother fought at Dax City and captured the king, Li Char, who we see in the Clone Wars. The 9th sister interrogated Li Char for the location of the Jedi, but they were soon swept away by large waves generated by some of the Mon Cala large creatures. The 3 Inquisitors survived the cataclysm and picked up Vader on an Imperial submarine. The 9th sister revealed the location of the Jedi to Vader, and upon their arrival, they were met by a Jedi and his 6 disciples. The entire group scattered except for one that shot at the submarine until Vader crushed his helmet. As they chased after the rest, another sacrificed himself to slow them down. Vader and the Inquisitors soon reached Bell City and made chase for the remaining of the group. Vader received a request from Moff Tarkin to capture Li Char and end the war on Mon Cala. Vader agreed and left the Inquisitors and their squad of clones to find the Jedi. Not too long after, the Inquisitors soon found the Jedi and his remaining 2 disciples. The 6th brother killed one of the disciples and surrounded the other 2. The Jedi then stepped forward and faced them, revealing their names from when they were Jedi. The 9th sister confronted the Jedi, identifying him as a Padawan named Farron Bar. Bar ignored her and told them that they were still truly Jedi, acknowledging the clones and their role in Order 66. Bar used the Force to take the helmets off the Purge Troopers and saw that they were newer clones that were commissioned after Order 66. Knowing they didn't have their inhibitor chips activated, he used a mind trick on them, saying execute Order 66. The trick worked and the Purge Troopers turned on the 3 superiors. They quickly succeeded in gunning down the 10th brother, although the 6th brother and 9th sister were able to deflect their shots and survive. Bar and his last disciple Varia then leaped over the battle and escaped. Keen to intercept them, the 6th brother and 9th sister used their combined powers to force push the troopers to the side. However, the 6th brother betrayed the 9th sister, cutting her leg off and leaving her to fend off the last 2 troopers alone. After his escape, the 6th brother took a boat away with 3 stormtroopers. We also see the 9th sister's cut off leg in the Jedi Fallen Order concept art of her, and there's actually a cool fan theory out there that the clones that we see as Purge Troopers in this scene could potentially be the same cadets that we saw leaving Kamino in the Bad Batch just before Kamino was destroyed. The search for Ahsoka Tano. Shortly after the mission to Mon Cala, the sixth brother was searching for a possible Force-sensitive child on Thebesca. However, he later abandoned this task after receiving word that a Force-sensitive being who received some level of Jedi training was hiding in the Outer Rim. He set out to find the individual in question, hoping to earn a promotion in the Inquisitorious ranks. The supposed Jedi was in fact former Padawan Ahsoka Tano, who had been hiding on Thebesca and the agricultural moon of Rada since Order 66 and the Siege of Mandalore. Tano had since built up a resistance group on Rada. After a failed assault on the nearby Imperial base, Ahsoka returned to Thebesca, where the Force-sensitive child before told Ahsoka of a shadow that had come. Ahsoka went back to Rada, where the sixth brother had already killed the entirety of the resistance group Ahsoka had formed, with only Ahsoka's friend Kaden Larde and her sister alive. The sixth brother took Kaden, who had become close to Tano, and then used Kaden to lay a trap for Tano as she revealed herself to him. The sixth brother then battled her, but Tano was able to identify his offensive fighting style and took advantage. She then reached out to his lightsaber crystal and then blew the lightsaber up, killing the sixth brother. This is literally one of the coolest things that I've ever heard about in canon, and I almost wish that we were able to see it in live action. And maybe we're even going to get a chance to see it in the Tales of the Jedi show that's coming out later this year. Following that though, Tano took his lightsaber crystals and fled the system, as she would eventually go on to purify them, giving her the white blades that she eventually has. At some point, two Inquisitors went rogue after hunting down Eth Koth and killing him. Vader made a chase for the two rogue Inquisitors and took a speeder into Coruscant. The pair planned on killing him in order for them to be free from his presence in the galaxy. Therefore, they attacked Vader's speeder, and the Sith Lord jumped to other speeders as they cut those down as well. The pair resorted to throwing speeders at the Sith, but he either threw them back or cut them down. As the two Inquisitors eventually managed to topple a statue onto Vader, he fell onto a balcony, temporarily immobilized. They attempted to finish him off, but he used the Force to freeze them in midair. The two Inquisitors turned to one another to spill their last words, as Vader made their lightsabers activate to stab the pair and kill them at the same time. Sidious later asked why he thought the two were traitors, and he explained to his master of their attachment and how the female Inquisitor briefly let Eth Koth's child escape. The Emperor was displeased with Vader's rampage that killed a Grand Senator who was important to his plans, and had the Inquisitors relocated off-world to the water moon of Nur, hunting Cal Kestis. The second sister and the ninth sister were sent by the Empire to hunt Cal Kestis, a former Padawan who was discovered on Bracca after an Imperial Viper probe droid witnessed him using the Force to save his friend Prof. The second sister ordered a group of Bracca scrappers, including Cal Kestis and his friend Prof, to reveal who the secret Jedi was. Prof came forward to confess as the Jedi, but the second sister killed him on the spot, to where Kestis revealed his saber in anger as he was rescued by the Mantis crew in an escape. Sir Junda, the former master of the second sister, was planning to use Cal Kestis on a mission to rebuild the Jedi Order. At some point, the second sister set a trap for Cal Kestis after revealing her identity. The Grand Inquisitor became aware of the fact that Cal Kestis had helped a partisan group of Saw Gerreras in an attack on an Imperial refinery on Kashyyyk. The ninth sister told the Grand Inquisitor that Kestis would not return to the planet, although she was mistaken. Kestis defeated the ninth sister after she fought him on the top of the origin tree of Kashyyyk. When Kestis climbed back up, the ninth sister dueled him and lost a hand before being pushed down the tree. Her fate is still unknown as to whether or not the ninth sister had survived, but it does seem like she could have, as it never was confirmed in the databanks of the game. The second sister, by the end of the game, ended up getting killed by Darth Vader after Cal Kestis went on a mission to Nur himself. After Trilla began to reconcile with Junda, her former master, that apologized for letting her fall to the dark side, Kestis, Junda, and the Mantis crew escaped Fortress Inquisitorius on the moon of Nur, and Kestis subsequently destroyed the holocron of Force-sensitive children to prevent the Empire from obtaining it and making even more Inquisitors out of Force-sensitive children. Of course, we expect to see them in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show around 9 BBY, as we already know the Grand Inquisitor fifth brother, and third sister Reva are likely to be prominent in the show. The Obi-Wan Kenobi show established that about 4 years after Cal Kestis attacked Fortress Inquisitorius, it seems as though it's become less of a prison for Force sensitives and more of a tomb, as we see countless characters like Terrace Anube and different Jedi who are mummified, probably to use to draw in other Jedi, like we see with Master Luminara in the Star Wars Rebels show, when her mummified body is used to draw in Kanan Jarrus and Ezra Bridger. It's scary to think about how many times the Inquisitors could have done this, as Obi-Wan tried to prevent this exact thing from happening by directing Jedi to go away from the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. Hunting the Spectres. As Kanan and Ezra fought the Grand Inquisitor multiple times throughout the first season of Star Wars Rebels, the end of the first season comes to a climactic finish with the Grand Inquisitor choosing death over capture or even failure to Darth Vader, saying, "Some things are far worse than death." In the aftermath of his death, the Seventh Sister became a vital commander among the ranks of the Inquisitorius. After Darth Vader had learned that Ahsoka Tano was alive, the fifth brother and seventh sister were assigned to hunt down the Rebels crew and Ahsoka Tano. The death of the Grand Inquisitor was also a great surprise for the other Inquisitors, who saw new opportunities in hunting down the ones responsible. In addition, the seventh sister and fifth brother, among several other Inquisitors, began to scour the galaxy searching for the two Jedi who had defeated their leader, all of them hoping to advance their own position within the Inquisitorius. While intercepting transmissions from Mustafar, Tano discovered the Inquisitor's second mission was to kidnap Force-sensitive children. Meanwhile, the seventh sister and fifth brother kidnapped the infants Allura and Peebe above the planets Shandel and Takobo. This brought them into contact with the Ghost crew and Ahsoka, who soundly defeated them in combat. Later, the seventh sister and fifth brother took part in an unsuccessful attempt to capture the rebels in Garl City. So once again, the Inquisitors were hunting after Force-sensitive children to bring them into their own ranks, or just potentially prevent them from becoming Jedi. 3 years before the Battle of Yavin, the fifth brother and seventh sister spent several months pursuing Kanan Jarrus and Ezra Bridger. On one occasion, they managed to track the Jedi to the planet Usalon, where they fought with them. Despite their efforts, the Jedi managed to escape and regroup with the other Spectres. Later, the Inquisitors followed Jarrus, Bridger, and Tano to the Lothal Jedi Temple. After forcing their way into the temple, the two Inquisitors were attacked by ghost apparitions of the Jedi Temple guards, one of whom was the former Grand Inquisitor. The fifth brother and seventh sister survived the encounter and reported to Vader, who vowed to put an end to the Jedi threat. Crossover to Malachor. Sometime after the events of the Jedi Temple on Lothal, Kanan, Ezra, and Ahsoka traveled to Malachor following a hint given to them by Jedi Master Yoda. When they arrived, the eighth brother was already there, hunting an individual known as the Shadow. He attacked them, and soon after, Ezra Bridger became separated from the group as he encountered a new individual, former Sith apprentice, Maul. As this was happening, Tano and Jarrus chased and captured the eighth brother, who unbeknownst to them sent a distress signal to his fellow Inquisitors. The fifth brother and seventh sister showed up shortly after. Maul and Ezra Bridger together entered the Sith Temple on Malachor and retrieved the Sith holocron inside. Shortly later, they found the fifth brother, seventh sister, and eighth brother dueling with Tano and Kanan Jarrus. Maul and Bridger intervened, and the Inquisitors were forced to retreat. While attempting to plant the Sith holocron in the Sith Temple obelisk, they encountered the Inquisitors once again. Maul began force choking the seventh sister and urged Bridger to strike her down. When Bridger could not bring himself to do it, Maul then threw his lightsaber, killing the Inquisitor himself. And again, after Ahsoka Tano had destroyed the fifth brother's lightsaber, Maul made quick work of him as well, making a fatal slash to his gut. During this time, Kanan Jarrus had also managed to slice the eighth brother's lightsaber, who was cornered and outnumbered, trying to flee using the helicopter Inquisitor technique that we see so often in Rebels. However, his lightsaber malfunctioned after being struck by Kanan, and in an attempt to flee, the eighth brother plummeted to his death at the base of the temple below. Disappearance. About 2 years before the Battle of Yavin, around 6 months after the Inquisitor's failure, the Empire dispatched Grand Admiral Thrawn to finish what Darth Vader and the Inquisitors couldn't. Thrawn pursued the rebels until defeat during the liberation of Lothal. However, another Inquisitor was the third brother, whose actions and fate were mysteries to those unfamiliar with him. The same was true for those unfamiliar with the third sister, another member of the organization, and the Force Sister also had an unknown fate at some point as well, although her armor would fall into the hands of Rebel Commander Lena Graf. Around 0 BBY, the Jedi Order was largely thought to be extinct by the Empire, and once their objective of wiping out the Jedi was completed, the Inquisitors themselves had vanished. This in part could have been due to a big fact that a lot of them could have died in the process of all of this that happened, but of course Palpatine deemed the Inquisitors fully expendable and obsolete. The legacy of the Inquisitors would live on, as although they had disappeared from the galaxy, their actions were still felt for decades to come. Around 3 ABY, Luke Skywalker actually encountered the spirit of the Grand Inquisitor that resided in an old Jedi Temple outpost in Tempest. On Tempest, Skywalker discovered a horrifying secret of the dead Grand Inquisitor haunted the walls of an ancient Jedi outpost. Despite his death above Mustafar, the Inquisitor's servitude to the Sith did not end with his death like he had hoped. Darth Vader had prevented the Grand Inquisitor's spirit from disappearing and forced him to reside on Tempest, where he sat for years to protect the outpost from people seeking the Jedi artifacts held within. The fiery spirit battled the young Jedi aspirant Luke Skywalker, hunting Jedi even in death. The ensuing duel ended when Skywalker disarmed the Inquisitor by cutting off his hand and hitting him in the chest, making the spirit disappear. And around 30 years after the Battle of Yavin, the Inquisitors and their history, much like the Jedi they hunted, were little known throughout the galaxy. As the Empire fell and the First Order rose to take its place, and their impact on the galaxy during the time of the Galactic Empire cannot be understated. The Inquisitors to me are one of the coolest additions to Disney Star Wars since the purchase of Lucasfilm in 2012, but let me know what you guys think of the Inquisitors down in the comments below. Which one of the Inquisitors is your favorite? Personally, I am a big fan of the Grand Inquisitor and the third Inquisitor that we will soon see in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to smash the like button if you did, and if you're new here, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more awesome Star Wars content just like this. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and may the Force be with you always.